It's finally time for the real MVP of the latest pack that takes center stage, and that is the Goblin Baker Big GABONGA. While Tenpai has been taking the ladder by storm and Ritual Beast has been seeing modest yet consistent competitive success, where has that left the third big deck of the new pack, the Goblin Bakers? Where are they? Well, here they are. This is our Goblin Baker deck. How does the deck work? Well, it's all centered around the new Exceed monster, the Goblin Baker Big GABONGA. An amazing card. Basically, this card will on summon search your deck for a goblin monster, and if a monster is detached from if an Exceed material is detached from a monster in the field while he's here, he gets to suck up a card as well. So he's an engine piece and he is interruption, and we fully plan on using both of those effects. We are playing 3 copies of the GABONGA. You can get away with 2. But 3 has been better in my experience, and essentially the main deck is level 3 soup. Our objective is we're either going to try normal summoning the tour guide from the underworld, or we're going to try putting 2 level 3s on our board while trying to keep our normal summon as best as possible. If you have to use your normal summon, it's not the biggest deal in the world. There's still a ton of combos you can do, but I want to focus on 2 combos for this video. Number 1 is going to be a tour guide combo, just normal summon tour guide, go nuts. That's going to be number 1. And number 2 is going to be any 2 level 3s while keeping your normal summon, because I think that combo is also really cool. Honestly, a lot of the deck, though, is just kind of level 3 soup freestyle. You play a shitload of extenders, a lot of gas, and you have a lot of room for hand traps. So we've got so much room. We're playing, you know, we've got our triple maxi, triple imperm, we got Mourner, Ghost Ogre. We got all these crazy hand traps as well. So you've got quite a lot of room for non-engine, which is a nice change of pace over a lot of the decks that I've been playing recently. So it definitely has its strengths there. So we're going to cover off those 2 combos. I do have a few replays I want to show off as well. I'm going to have other versions of Goblin Bakers out over the next sort of, not the next couple of videos, but I want to do videos on other versions of Goblin Bakers. I have an adventure version. I'm testing out a Tenpai version that was suggested to me by a member of the Discord. It's been a little dicey so far, but I'm trying to see if I can make that work. So basically, Goblin Bakers is a lot of fun. Expect to see more of it. I am likely also going to be doing a live stream on this deck in the near future. And this list, I'm going to be doing a card for card at the end of this video. One announcement I want to make in this video is that for the next while, what we're going to be doing is we're going to be shifting our live streams across to Twitch. We're not going to be streaming on YouTube for the next little while here. We're going to be streaming on Twitch instead. I'm going to try sending alerts out on YouTube when I can, and of course our notifications will be in the Discord. But my advice is, if you want to catch us live when we're playing not only Beggars but anything else, we just did a really cool live stream where we went from being a complete Ritual Beast novice to being a pretty intermediate Ritual Beast player in the span of 4 hours. So if you want to catch our live streams, I would absolutely recommend doing it. If you hop on over to Twitch and give us a follow there, or if you just hop into the Discord, and then I will send out notifications and links and such to streams when we're going live. I would really appreciate the support on both YouTube and Twitch. So if you want to catch us live, I really would appreciate you heading on over there. But if you're happy enough staying here, then what you can do on YouTube is you can subscribe to catch more videos just like this. You can hit the notification bell if you want to as well. The one thing I do want to say before we get started is the duality of Goblin Bakers. This is the list I ended up settling on. Through most of the gameplay and most of the lists you're going to see online are something more akin to this, where we're playing more copies of Doug Charger, more copies of Grand Entrance. People are playing this style of Punk Engine, 2 Zeom and 1 Foxy and we switched away from this because, and I'll go into more detail at the end when we're doing a card for card deck profile, but the Doug Charger and the Grand Entrance and things, they just weren't doing enough by themselves, and the style of build for these types of lists were very normal summon heavy. If your normal summon got interrupted, unless you had one of your key extenders, you really weren't getting very far. So the reason we've switched across to this list, and I've been having a lot more success with this, is because we are way less dependent on our normal summon. If you normal summon Tour Guide and you get impermed, who gives a fuck, right? You've got your triple Foxy, so you're way more likely to see that. You've got your E-Tele still, you've still got your Wielder and your Tracker, you've got Terror Top, which will likely eat interruption before you even get as far as Tour Guide. So having that, as well as having less copies of these cards that don't really do anything, like Dug Charger and Grand Entrance are great when you need them. They're not always fantastic to see in hand. So having those limited to 1 in your deck it's been doing me a lot of favors, if I'm being honest. It has been really, really nice, because not only does that mean I can focus on more non-normal summon starters, it means I can also fit more non-engine. You know, we were able to fit more and stuff into this list. So take that with a pinch of salt, do whatever you want to. I just thought I would throw that part out at the beginning. I'll go into more detail at the end when we're doing the card for card, but this is the list. I'm not going to talk anymore. Like, subscribe, and let's get into those combos. Alright, we're going to start with our 2 level 3 combo. Now, you can see here in our hand, we have 2 starters, both of which get us into this combo. The Foxy Tune starter does need your normal summon for your 2nd level 3. So you don't really want to do this one if you have another option. We do have the E-Tally though. E-Tally is perfect. But this one does do full combo, just you have to use your normal summon for it. That's the only difference. But let's go for E-Tally. So E-Tally then is going to special summon a Psychic out from our deck. We're going to summon out the No Punk Xiamen. Xiamen, then we're going to activate the effect of, going to pay 600 life points. We're going to search our deck for the Foxy Tune, of course. Even if you already have one, you're still going to search the Foxy Tune. Then what you're going to do is you're going to activate the Foxy Tune. You're going to discard a card from your hand. As effect, by the way, so if they ash your Foxy Tune, you don't have to discard a card, which is very nice. And you're going to summon out the Jory Punk Madame Spider. Now, this is the big reasons why I like the Foxy Tune line is that, yes, even though you have to use your normal summon, you also get to work Madame Spider into your list, which means you can pay 600 life points and you can grab yourself the Dangerous Gabu Trap card, which is basically just an imperm. Very, very nice. So we get an extra interruption here, and we have not yet used our normal summon, but we have 2 level 3s on board. It is time to go for the Gabonga. So we're going to overlay our 2 level 3s. Yep, in the attack position. Perfect. Really cool animation, by the way. Bro is built different. So we're going to go Gabonga. Gabonga's going to grab us the Dug Charger. So Dug Charger's the one you kind of want in hand. The rest of them are extenders, but from Grave. So this guy's the extender from hand. We're going to detach a material off of our Gabonga to special summon out the Dug Charger. Dug Charger then going to activate. Gabonga, if you happen to be doing this going second, Gabonga now can activate to suck up any monster on the field as Exceed material. Very useful effect. We're not going to use it right now, of course. But if you were going second, you're able to just yoink an opponent's monster right there. We're going to grab the Grand Entrance here. So Grand Entrance, we're going to activate its effect. We're now going to search our deck for the Clattersploder. There is some lands where you want to go for the Mean Merciless instead, but we're going to go Clattersploder this time around, and you're going to see why in just a minute. We are now going to activate the second effect to detach the remaining material from the Gabonga to special summon, the Clattersploder. I'm too used to playing Ritual Beast now. I'm thinking everything's an additional normal summon. So now we're going to use our 2 new level 3s. We're going to go into the Exceed Armor Torpedo. Exceed Armor Torpedo, we're going to activate its effect. We're going to detach 2. We're going to draw 1. So an extra little +1 there. Love to see it. Now we're going to go into our Armor Fortress using our Torpedo. Beautiful. Now we're going to activate our Armor Fortress, detaching the Torpedo. We're going to grab the full Armored Exceed. And now we're going to Exceed someone one more time using the Fortress to go into our Dark Knight Lancer. Now we're going to use the effect of Grand Entrance in our graveyard, and this is why you want to preserve your normal summon if you can. We're going to detach a material off of our Dark Knight. We're going to add the Clattersploder back to hand. Oh, by the way, look at our hand size. Incredible. We're going to normal summon the Clattersploder here, because the Clattersploder is going to activate its effect to bring back the Dug Charger. And here's where you're met with a choice. You can either go into another level 3, rank 3, sorry. You'd have to go into another Gabonga, and you could use 2 Gabonga to go into the Utopic Drink of Future line. If you want to do that, by all means. I don't really like that. I feel like the Utopic Drink of Future eats a lot of resources, so I typically don't do that unless I start off with a ton of extenders. What I normally do is just go IP Masquerena here using our 2 level 3s. So we're going to go IP, and this is effectively the end board. So you don't always have Dangerous Gabu. You have Dangerous Gabu with the E-Tally line. Normally you don't have dangerous Gabu though, so let's pretend this isn't here, right? So we're going to set our cards and we're going to pass turn. So this looks, you know, pretty chill. At the end of the turn, this is important. At the end of the turn, GABONGA is going to grab you a card. We're going to grab the Mean Merciless as a material here. So now what's going to happen during our opponent's turn, we have a lot of potential interruption. And the trickiest part of it here is going to be the Clatter Sploder effect. So the Clatter Sploder is where things get really cool, because you can effectively detach a material off of your GABONGA. Right, so we're going to detach the monster we just added as material. We're going to summon the Clatter Sploder. That's going to trigger both the Clatter Sploder and GABONGA's effect. So you can bring back either of these guys. If you have a monster in hand you want to summon for the Mean Merciless, is a really good idea because it gives you an extra material for the IP Masquerena. Otherwise, bringing back Doug Charger for the additional search is really good. And GABONGA is going to suck up an opponent's monster. So that's one interruption already. Yep, okay, GABONGA stealing his egg. That's fine. Clatter Sploder going to bring back the Doug Charger. Then Doug is going to search us another card. Now, the only other search target I play is Grand Stampede. You can play the other spell cards if you want as backup search targets. I really like Stampede, though. So we're going to grab Stampede. And then with our toggle on, we're going to go full Armored Exceed immediately. And this gives us the opportunity to Exceed Summon into the Cicada King. So we're going to use our 2 level 3s to quick play summon our Cicada King. And just like that, now we've got full Armor Exceed in the graveyard as well. So that means our board has 1 interruption off the GABONGA. So sucking up a monster. You can suck up a second monster off the Dark Knight using the full Armor Exceed card. You have a monster negate with your Cicada King. You have Banish on Summon with SP. And you have a second Banish off of SP's other effect. And if you use E-Telly, you of course also have Dangerous Gabu. So E-Telly by itself basically gives you a 6 interruption board, as well as all the additional sort of draws and searches, right? So we were able to search for Stampede as follow-up. We were able to draw into, I think we drew in the call by. So you draw a bunch of cards, you search a bunch of cards, and you get 6 interruptions off of E-Telly. 5 if you do it a different way, but 6 if you do E-Telly. I think that's pretty fucking cool. I don't know. Correct me if I'm wrong. That seems pretty sick. So that's it. I'm not going to sit. Obviously, this is a bot. I don't give a shit about this. That is the 2 level 3 combo. As long as you get to keep your normal summon, that's how you do that line. Now, what we're going to do is show off the Tour Guide line, which is slightly different. Alright, so getting a look at this hand again, we've got not only our hand traps, we also have, you know, an extender here in the Foxy Toon. Tucky Tomborg is, you know, not the greatest card to have in hand, but there's at least one of the Goblin Beggars that are win, so he's not normally a total brick either. But anyways, this hand is all about the Tour Guides. We're going to normal summon the Tour Guide, going to activate her effect to special summon a Fiend from deck. We're going to summon the Mean Merciless, the only Goblin Beggar that is actually a Fiend. Now we're going to activate the effect of these two. We're going to detach Uno and Dos. Sorry, attach Uno and Dos to our Goblin Beggar, Big GABONGA. Hell yeah. GABONGA on summon will activate. We're going to grab the Doug Charger from our deck as per normal. We're going to activate the Doug Charger's effect. We're going to detach the Mean Merciless to put it into our graveyard. It will act as an extender in grave. Using our Doug Charger, we're going to use its effect. We're going to grab, of course, the Grand Entrance. All fairly standard stuff here. We're going to go for Grand Entrance now. Grand Entrance, we're going to grab the Clatter Sploder just like we otherwise would have. You'll notice how this time, though, whenever we detach a material to summon the Clatter Sploder, we already have a Goblin Beggar in graveyard. That's the big difference between this line and the other one. So we already have a target, essentially, for Clatter Sploder, is what I'm trying to get at. So we're going to bring back this. Again, if you had another Beggar in hand, you would have a target for Mean Merciless's effect, which would be nice. But for the sake of this, we're going to assume that we don't. And from here, the combo isn't really all that different. We're going to go Mean Merciless again. We're going to go for the Clatter Sploder. We're going to put these guys into the graveyard, which is where they're most useful. To go into our Torpedo. We're going to activate the Torpedo, draw 1. Everyone likes our little +1s. Drawing a second Mortar. Love to see it. Now we're going to go into the Fortress. Bang, bang, bang. Fortress activates, detach, search our trap. Love to see it. And then lastly, we're going to go full armor Lancer here. That gives another monster in our field with material. So we can do a couple of things here. We can either go Mean Merciless to summon itself back by detaching material, or we can do the Grand Entrance. Now, in this particular circumstance, because we've used our normal summon, the Grand Entrance isn't as useful. But you can, if you had multiple monsters with multiple Exceed material on the field, you would be able to use this to great effect. You would be able to add a card back to hand, and then you also would have been able to summon Mean Merciless to summon that card from hand. But yeah, let's assume for now that we don't. So we're going to detach material off of the Dark Knight Lancer. We're going to summon out our Mean Merciless. That's all good. So now what we're going to do is, you can, again, you're in a position where you can either go IP or you can go into the Drake of Future line. I'm personally not a huge fan of the Drake of Future line, so I normally opt for IP. The only reason I don't like the Drake of Future line is that trying to get GABONGA back on the field isn't impossible, but it becomes pretty dicey because you need to detach it off the Sploder, then the Sploder needs to bring it back, and then you need to have Mean Merciless to detach another material off of your Drake of Future, and then suddenly you've got a Drake of Future that's only good for one negate. And I don't think that's super worth it. If you want to do it that way, you can. I personally just don't really like it that much. And then, yeah, we're basically at the exact same board using a totally different starter. So, yeah, and again, the board does the exact same stuff that it did in the last combo. So, again, I don't think we need the play-by-play here. But, yes, effectively, that's how you do it with Tour Guide. In the other cards, how you do it with E-Tele, Terror Top, or, you know, like Tracker or Wielder, plus a not normal summon level 3 is how you get into these boards, like identical boards. Again, UDF you can mix in there if you really want to. There's probably some sort of like extra play you can make to get in the UDF as well, but anyways, the last thing I want to show off is how to do it off of Foxy Tune. And the reason that's going to be different is because Foxy Tune takes your normal summon without giving you a Biker Engrave, which is a big difference, right? Because normally the Tour Guide line is okay to use your normal summon because it gets you a Biker to bring back off the Clatter Sploder. The other line, you need your normal summon because you need to use the Clatter Sploder, right? After being added back to hand. This time is going to be slightly different. So let's find out how the Foxy Tune gets things done. So the Punk lane in this deck has to make an interesting decision. The problem is, you really struggle to get a way to put the Clatter Sploder into the graveyard while also maintaining the gas to set up a pretty decent board. So what we're going to do is we're essentially going to make a trade. What we're going to do is we're going to trade IP for a Dangerous Gabu and a better Exceed monster during our opponent's turn. Instead of going into Cicada King or Gossip Shadow, we're instead going to go into the Ashura King, or there's some Deep Sea monster I'm going to throw on screen somewhere as well you can summon. I haven't personally used that one, but it also seemed pretty good. So let me show you the combo. The combo will start with either Xiamen or Foxy Tune. Both do the same play. So we're going to normal summon the Xiamen here. We're going to grab the Foxy Tune. Foxy Tune we're going to activate. We're going to discard itself and another card to bring out the Madame Spider. Now, if you started the combo with Foxy Tune, you would special summon out Xiamen, activate Xiamen, search Madame Spider, and then normal summon her. So exact same board state, and when you use your normal summon for both, so it is the exact same. We're going to use Madame Spider to search for the Dangerous Gabu. So we're going to have this every time we do this combo, which is a nice little extra monster negate. Very, very nice. We're going to go in, of course, with our 2 level 3s into the big man himself, the big GABONGA. Hell yeah. GABONGA on summon, going to get searching. We're going to search our deck for the Dog Charger, as per usual. We're going to go Charger. Charger's going to detach a material from the GABONGA. We're going to summon out our Charger to the field, activating its effect to grab ourselves the Grand Entrance. So now we're going to activate the Grand Entrance here. Grand Entrance is going to add the Clatter Sploder from the deck to the hand. Now, there are some crazier sort of combos you can do with the other cards if you were to have extenders. I've noticed, though, after trying those lines myself and watching other people do their videos and combos on it, that you sacrifice so much in terms of consistency, in terms of ability to play through hand traps, and in terms of follow-up and non-engine to make those lines work, that they're really not worth it. So we're going to use the Grand Entrance. We're going to detach a material off the big GABONGA. And we're going to summon the Clatter Exploder. Clatter Exploder is the big card that you want to have in the graveyard during your opponent's turn. Having this card is a huge deal. So our board state during our turn is going to be very, very simple. We're going to go into the Armor Torpedo here, activating its effect. We're going to detach 2. We're going to draw 1. Love to see it. There's our Moonlit Chill. Excellent. Another hand trap. Always nice to see off the draw once. Now we're going to go into the Fortress. Activating the Fortress, we're going to detach our Torpedo. Again, Torpedo's a nice one to have engrave because once it's equipped onto our Dark Knight becomes untargetable, which is very nice. I think a lot of people forget about that part. And now we're going to go into the Dark Knight. Beautiful. So now, what's the difference between this board and the previous boards? Well, we have the Dangerous Gabu instead of the IP. And we're also going to be setting up a better Exceed monster during our opponent's turn. I'm going to show you that now. So we're going to set our 2 cards. So we search for these 2 traps. So we're going to set these 2. And we're going to pass turn back to our opponent here. During the end phase, we're going to equip onto our monster this guy. Either one of them do. Well, no, sorry, no, you need to do Boom Mop specifically. Apologies. You need to do Boom Mop specifically. And I'm going to show you why now. They're going to make literally any play. Red Ice Fusion, whatever. It doesn't matter to me. Yep, Red Ice Fusion, that's fine. Do your thing. Comet Dragon, okay. So you'll see here, they're going to activate their effect, of course. We've got that monster negate on deck, the monster negate that we searched for. We're going to negate the Red Eyes Comet Dragon. There we are. You are negated, sir. And now what we're going to do, now that our opponent has a monster on field, we're going to activate the effect of the Clatter Exploder. We're going to detach a material from the GABONGA. We're going to detach the Boom Mock to the graveyard. We want this card in grave. We're going to play our Clatter Exploder. Clatter Exploder is going to activate to bring back the Dug Charger specifically. GABONGA then going to grab their Comet Dragon as material. Going to yoink that shit. There we are. Dug Charger going to activate to get searching. And we're going to chain the Boom Mock as well. Now, you can either detach the material that you just stole from your opponent, but oftentimes them having one of their own monsters in graveyard may be detrimental. So you often just want to detach the Exceed Armor Fortress off of your own Dark Knight. It will negatively impact his attack points, but denying them a monster in grave is usually worth it. So they're going to go into this. That's fine. We're going to grab our follow-up off of our Grand Stampede. Chain link on. Now we're going to go for our full Armored Exceed, and instead of going into the Cicada King or Gossip Shadow, we're going to go into the Ashura King, which takes 3 or more level 3s. This is a monster negate, but it negates both on field and in hand, and it destroys the monster that it negates. Now, why is that better, of course, than the other 2? Well, Cicada King can only negate monsters on field, and Gossip Shadow, while yes, it does negate a monster in hand or in field, it also allows both players to draw a card, which during your opponent's turn could be even more detrimental to you than it is helpful. So we're going to use these guys to go into the Ashura King. The Ashura King can also be kind of neat when it comes to trying to press for lethal, because he can attack a whole bunch of times. And that's the idea, basically. So you can as well... yeah, so I get to show this off too. So we're going to equip a monster on here, it's whatever. We also get to use the full Armor Exceed, of course, to yoink a card off of our Dark Knight. Equipping on the Torpedo so it becomes untargetable as well, which is nice. And he can also steal face down cards, which is big. That's the big difference. And that is it. So rather than have the banish off the SP, the 2 banishes off the SP, we're going to have a monster negate, and we're going to dramatically level up the quality of rank monster that we use. So I personally really like the Ashura King. There is another rank 3 that I saw was really nice. It was targeted negation. Which is again unique compared to any of the other rank 3s. Targeting negation, and it even lowered the monster's attack points, which was super cool. I threw that one on screen as well. So there's a few of them you can target with this particular line, because you're not worried about having a backup monster on field as material for your IP SP play. You can really sort of flesh out that rank 3 that you summon, because there's a few really good rank 3s that just take 3 materials instead of 2. You can play around with that. Again, I personally like these lines. I like keeping it nice and simple. I don't like doing these overly complicated UDF lines because I'm going to be honest, the number of those times where if you get even slightly inconvenienced or make one small mistake, one hand trap, or if you're missing like the correct extender, sometimes you're left in a position where you cannot get GABONGA back to field. And whenever I'm playing this deck, I'm prioritizing having GABONGA on my inboard because I really want the good suck. And I really want to be able to chain that with our Fortress cards. So maybe that's just me. I really like having GABONGA. I think that suck is super duper valuable in this current format. You can go for UDF instead. It just leaves you a little bit high and dry in terms of follow-up. But, you know, to each their own, right? Everyone prefers things differently. You let me know about your sort of particular preferences and combos down below. That'll do for the combos. I think we covered off pretty much all of them. Let's get into some gameplay. Already getting into our first replay. This one's going to be a bit of a doozy. We're going to show off the Foxy Tune combo that we actually just showed off, but with an extender, which makes it so much better than just the one card version. We are going to hit cross out on that Ashe. No maxi, no shenanigans. This is going to be an honest to goodness duel against a top tier deck. We're going to summon out our Ziam, and Ziam are going to activate her effect, paying 600 life points to grab ourselves the Madame Spider. Normal summon the Madame Spider, paying 600 life points to grab ourselves the Dangerous Gabu. There is our monster negate, summoning the tracker before going into the Goblin Baker Big GABONGA. GABONGA then going to activate its effect. We're going to detach a material. We're going to grab the Doug Charger. Detaching the summon itself. Again, just like the combo gets, this part is bread and butter as far as Bakers go. We're going to go into the Exceed Armor Torpedo. Torpedo going to detach 2, draw 1. We're going to draw in the Moonlit Chill. That's pretty damn nice. We're going to grab now our Clatter Splitter off of the Grand Entrance, summoning it by detaching a material off the GABONGA. We're going to bring back the Doug Charger. So the reason that, just in terms of like the sequencing, if you're wondering why it was slightly different, we went into the Exceed Armor Torpedo early to put Doug Charger in grave so the Clatter Splitter could bring it back from the graveyard when it was summoned. That's the only difference. Detaching the Torpedo, grabbing the Full Armor Exceed, going into your Dark Knight Lancer, Link to Into the Mask Arena, and I'm pretty confident with this board. Set 3 and pass. We're going to grab a card off the big GABONGA. We're going to grab, of course, our Boom Mock, which is the best follow-up card, essentially. Our opponent immediately threatened Battle Phase. Immediate Battle Phase threat. I'm thinking, fuck. Evenly matched. Okay, that's a problem. How do we best play around evenly matched? Well, let's try to cleverly leverage our SP Little Knight. So we're going to go into SP here. Now what we're going to do is we're going to activate the Clatter Splitter. We're going to detach a material off of our Dark Knight Lancer, bringing itself back now. Also going to bring back the Doug Charger into the battle phase. We're going to go into the Full Armored Exceed summoning into GABONGA. Now we're going into GABONGA because our plan is the moment he activates that evenly matched, we're going to use the SP Little Knight to bounce off the field with our GABONGA. GABONGA's the only Exceed monster that keeps any value even when it has 0 materials. So we're going to bounce both off the field. We still do lose 2 monster negates, which is pretty damn big because his last card is simple. Spoils of Subversion into Bonfire. Bro had evenly matched Subversion Bonfire. That is insane. Normal summon the Snake Eye Ash. Gonna go into the Snake Eyes Poplar. Poplar then gonna activate Enhance, special summoning itself out to the field. We're gonna go for the Moonlit Chill on the Poplar. I feel like because I kind of know how this deck works. I know how the Goblin Bakers work. I know how the Snake Eyes work. I'm thinking to myself that as long as I can kind of stop the Fire King cards, I should be able to cope with a Snake Eye deck. So we decided to hit the Poplar to stop it from going in the original Sinful Spoils, which prevents the summon of the Fire King card. So now he's going to basically go full tilt Snake Eyes. I'm going to speed this up here because he does kind of pop off. He's just going to go absolutely balls to the wall. We even have a fire in our graveyard. The Clatter Splitter's a fire engrave, which gives him a target off of the Hita. So essentially what's going to happen at the end of this turn is we're going to have SP and GABONGA back. We're going to draw a card. Our Lancer's in the back row, so we're not able to use it. So we're going to have to basically very cleverly leverage this. And he also finishes his turn with Tactics to loop the last card out of our hand. Disrespectful. But he does pass to us. GABONGA then going to grab a card during the end of the turn. We're going to grab that Mean Merciless. Anyway, we're going to top deck into Ghost Ogre. Not a terrible card. Now we're going to use the effect of the Grand Entrance. Basically, what I'm doing here is I'm going to try picking a couple of pieces off of his board before he gets the ability to use the Promethean Princess. So we're going to grab the Clatter Splitter back to hand. Using GABONGA, we're going to suck up the Swarm Ship. No point me targeting Flamberge because he's just going to negate it. Now we're going to go for the Full Armor Exceed to equip the Torpedo onto GABONGA. Now, why do we do that? Well, the Torpedo makes our GABONGA untargetable, and if he battles a monster, the effects of their monsters are negated. Pretty useful stuff. So we're going to swing into the Linkuriboh. So the effective Armor Torpedo takes effect when it battles. It does not take effect on attack declaration. So Linkuriboh would take precedence over Exceed Armor Torpedo, so we needed to deal with that first. Other than that, that's totally fine. Flamberge, going to summon at the Ash. Linkuriboh, going to reduce our SP Lunanite down to 0. Grabbing Kurakara, that's something that we need to dance around here pretty intelligently. We're going to swing into the Flamberge. Torpedo negating the Flamberge, preventing its activation, so no summoning back from grave. We're going to go into the Clatter Splitter. That's going to trigger the Promethean. I thought, okay, we're going to SP, we're going to dodge the Promethean, but he's got the Linkuriboh in grave, which allows him to remove one of his targets, which prevents SP from resolving, but does not prevent the Promethean Princess from resolving. So our Dug Charger does get destroyed. He's going to go into the Promethean. We're going to go Boom Mock, detaching material off of our GABONGA. We're going to go into Gossip Shadow into Downward Magician, then Downward Magician into Zeus, and I decide, fuck it. As much as I don't want to lose my GABONGA here, it is definitely worth wiping the field. Wiping everything out just like that. Our opponent's got 3 cards to their name. We've got 1 more Zeus Wipe and a Ghost Ogre and Snow Rabbit. They're going to go for the Unicorn. Unicorn does not pose any immediate threat to us, even if they grab Birth, all of that. We don't need to worry about it. Kurakara is a much bigger threat. He just simply sets 1 passes. Zeus wiped the board again, going into our turn. Original Sinful Spoils being played, but unfortunately not able to use it. Switching Zeus to attack mode, we're going to go Tour Guide from the Underworld, summoning another Tour Guide so we can go into another copy of the GABONGA. We're going to go Mean Merciless, detaching material off to summon itself back, and that is enough attack points for game 14, 21, and 3k for Lethal. Definitely a hell of a match. A real sort of back and forth. That evenly into Subversion ends 90% of deck. So I'm honestly a little bit shocked we came back from that as well as we did. But there you go. It just goes to show how good the deck is. Already getting into our second replay. This one against a bit more of an unorthodox deck here. We're going to see him add Horus to his hand. They're going to return a card back to the deck. Horus then going to discard himself into Blessing to grab the King Sark. As well as drawing 1. King Sark activating. Going to discard a card. Going to try and send a card from deck to graveyard. We're going to hit that with a Ghost Ogre and Snow Rabbit. Now, Ghost Ogre into King Sark is normally huge, but because he's already got the field spell and he's already got 2 Horus monsters in grave, it is not the biggest thing in the world, unfortunately. They're going to set the Conquistador of the Golden Land. This is Horus Eldritch. Now going into rank 8, the Hope Harbinger Titanic Dragon, or whatever the fuck its name is. Top deck in the Imperm. Pretty crazy top deck. We're going to use the Imperm right away. We're going to negate that Hope Harbinger. We're going to special summon it to Terror Top. Terror Top going to grab us the Talkatomborg. Talkatomborg going to be summoned into the field as well. Now we're going to use our 2 level 3s to go into the Goblin. Banker, Big GABONGA. Big GABONGA going to activate its effect. Going to detach a material to try and search, but he's got Mistake, the continuous trap card, which is basically Droll and Lockbird. Does prevent our GABONGA from doing its thing. We're going to detach a material off of the GABONGA to summon it to Dug Charger, using its effect to suck up that Hope Harbinger, going into the SP Little Knight. SP Little Knight being able to banish that Mistake. The trap card is gone. Now we can go into our Grand Entrance. Grand Entrance, grabbing the Clatter Splitter. We have not yet normal summoned. We're going to normal summon the Clatter Splitter, bringing back the GABONGA from the graveyard. And now we're going to be able to pay just a little bit more. We're going to go into the Exceed Armor Torpedo. Torpedo activating its effect, going to detach 2 materials. Going to draw 1, drawing into Ash. That's pretty big. We're going to go into the Fortress next. Fortress detaching 1 again to grab us the full Armored Exceed. Now we're going to go for 1 more Exceed summon into the Dark Knight Lancer, setting 1 and passing turn. We cannot declare a direct attack this turn because we used SP Luna Knight's effect to banish the mistake. Definitely worth it. He's still got 2 face down cards, and he still, of course, has the field spell for follow-up, but we have a plan. We're going to detach off the GABONGA to summon out the Clattersploder. We're going to suck up that Blessing to remove it from his arsenal going forward. Clattersploder going to bring back a card from the graveyard as well, grabbing us the Doug Charger. Doug Charger going to activate its effect, as well as the full Armored Exceed being activated to go into an additional Exceed summon. Using our 2 frees, we're going to go into the Gossip Shadow for an extra monster negate. We are going to grab another Grand Entrance. This was an older version of the deck where we were playing multiple of this card. We were also playing multiple Doug Chargers. But, you know, very little difference. Haquero now going to be activated. We're going to go SP Little Knight to remove the inset Horus from the field. That's going to stop him from having that extra body to swing over some of our Exceed monsters. He's going to use that Haquero to go into Typhon. Typhon, hopefully, I guess our opponent's going to be using it to shut us down. We're going to swing into the GABONGA there. Now they're going to go for Typhon's effect, detaching 1, trying to bounce a card back to hand. We're going to go for Gossip Shadow detaching 2 to change that monster's effect to both players drawing 1 card. So we draw into a second Ash Blossom. Our opponent gets a card as well, of course. They're going to try and hit us with the Imperial Tomb. We're going to say no to that using one of our 2 Ash Blossoms. I'm not too fussed about using up one of them on that because, like I said, we do have a second one. SP Luna Knight bringing itself and the inset back. Switching Gossip Shadow to attack position. We're going to banish our spell. We're going to detach a material to add the Clattersploder back to our hand. We're going to normal summon it, targeting the Doug Charger in the graveyard. Doug Charger yet again searching. These searches don't really do anything. These cards are all sort of useless, which is, I mean, you can see that they're not very useful right now, which is why I cut them all down. This card does nothing. It just makes our monsters slightly bigger. So we're going to go into the Big Gabonga. Big Gabonga going to activate, grabbing the Boom Mock from the deck. Boom Mock going to activate Conquistador of the Golden Land, being followed up very quickly with Elixir of Scarlet Sanguine. We're going to hit the Scarlet Sanguine with our Ash Blossom. That's going to prevent his summon of Eldritch, meaning that Conquistador does little but summon itself out to the field as an additional body. We do not have to worry about him popping one of our cards. Boom Mock going to detach from the Gabonga to summon itself. Gabonga then going to activate, sucking up the Typhon. Now we're going to go for full Armored Exceed, banishing itself, equipping onto our Knight the Torpedo. Then that's going to use our Knight to suck up their Horus, swing it over the Conquistador, and we've got more than enough attack points on our field to go for lethal damage. Pretty solid. Definitely a bit of an unorthodox match. You know, you don't often see Horus Eldritch. It was pretty good. I mean, it's basically just Horus with a couple of trap cards. Horus is always a scary deck, depending upon the circumstances. But again, we got to show off a lot of the tech. I guess in that, you kind of got to see how you can play some of the additional Goblin cards and how the searches sort of rack up. But those additional cards, like past the first turn, they're not really that good. I'm going to be perfectly honest. Even Stampede, I'm personally a fan of Stampede, but I have it in my deck more just as like a personal touch. It's probably not even worth running, if I'm being honest. I like it as having a backup search target just in case I happen to open Grand Entrance. But now that I'm only playing 1 Grand Entrance, I feel like that isn't even necessarily something worth accounting for. But we'll talk more about that at the deck builder section. We've got one more replay. Alright, into our third and final game. This one starting off a little bit differently to normal. This is going to be a slower match than the last couple that you just got to see, because we're going to trade hand traps back and forth here just a little bit. They're going to go Max C. Of course, the Sheesh is a problem for any deck, but a deck that likes to special summon as often as we do, it's especially a problem for. We're going to go Yaman just to try and, you know, build up a little bit of advantage into the Max C. They're going to go Gamma, though. Driver from hand, which is very important to note. He's down to 3 cards in hand. I'm going to normal summon the Madame Spider. He's going to hit that with an Ash Blossom. So I'm looking at this, I'm like, okay, he used Max C and he's down to 2 cards in hand. Realistically, I shouldn't need to do much here. I should need to just, I'm going to pass turn, I'm going to let the Gamma disappear. Into our opponent's turn, they're playing Tempai and they just happen to have their 1-card starter. Of course they do. We're going to go Max C into that Genroku. That is gonna draw something, right? At least one draw is always nice. They're gonna go Pydra. Pydra then gonna get hit with the Imperm. We're not gonna let him search for Kaiman. If he had to search for Kaiman, or if he had just had Kaiman as one of the last 2 cards in hand, he would have won the game. And there's no denying that. He would have simply won. He does get to take out our Madame Spider, but we top deck into the Terror top off of the Maxi, which is probably one of the best top decks in the whole Goblin Baker deck. We're going to special out the Terror Top using its effect. We're going to search our deck for the Takatomborg, summoning the Tracker, summoning the Takatomborg, Tracker and Takatomborg into the Big Gabonga. Big Gabonga going to activate its effect, going to grab us the Doug Charger. Then we're going to hit with Drool. I'm going to be honest, I didn't even notice that. I was looking somewhere else. We suck up the Pydra. I go into the Exceed Armor Torpedo, and our opponent kind of knows that they're cooked, and they surrender. Honestly, I don't think I would have had lethal under Drool. Drool would have sucked a lot, but we didn't have to find out because our opponent decided they didn't want to play. There you go. Nice and simple, easy third game. Not showing off too much, just a bit of back and forth when it comes to hand traps, non-engine, as well as how powerful certain starters are in terms of getting you into your entire engine. Pretty straightforward stuff. Let's get a look at the deck list. Alright, it doesn't take a genius to figure out that the name of the game when it comes to the goblins are your level 3 monsters. So what we're doing is we're playing as many engines as possible that allow us to very easily and self-sufficiently put 2 level 3 monsters onto our field. Ideally without using our normal summon, but we do have to use our normal summon for a few of our combos. So we do have a couple of different lands. I showed off 3 different combos at the beginning of the video. So that's generally the basis around which we're building this deck. And again, we're not building this deck as 1-card combo city. That is not the intention or the goal. The advantage of all of these combos is that it's not like a 1-card one and done type deal, right? These 1-card combos are all really good because they also function as phenomenal extenders, right? So like the Foxy Tune and stuff like this, using just Foxy Tune for the Foxy Tune combo we did at the very beginning is neat, right? Is kind of cool. But whenever you start to compare this with 1 or, heaven forbid, 2 extenders, God, your board just gets so much better. And that's the thing, like, Tour Guide is kind of like the only dedicated normal summon, but like Terror Top, being able to special summon for free to either go into your full combo or even to put up like a Gossip Shadow to protect your combo from an Ash Blossom or whatever. You've got the Foxy Tune and the E-Tellies, which are 1-card combos, but also act as phenomenal extenders if you already happen to have a combo. Tracker and Wielder, also really good extenders. It's just good. It's not a deck filled with like 14 1-card normal summon combos. Think like Resonator, right? Compare this to Resonator. You can look at Resonator and you can say this deck has 14 1-card combos, right? However, if I imperm your Soul Resonator, you lose. Why is that? Because all of them are 1-card combos, but they're not contiguous 1-card combos. It is very much, you tried this combo, and if it works, then it's a 1-card combo. If it doesn't work, then you just lose the game. In this, if you summon Tour Guide, and it gets ashed or impermed, okay, I special summon Wielder. I special summon Tracker. I special summon Ziyaman off of my Foxy Tune. Right? I special summon Ziyaman off of E-Telly. So many extenders. But anyways, I'm going to stop fanboying over this deck. I could talk about this deck for days. It's so much fun. I fucking love this deck. We're going to talk about the actual list itself. So I'm going to remove the non-engine cards that we're playing first and foremost, so you can get a look at the deck in its purest form. We are playing a decent chunk of non-engine. We're gonna go for the Max C here to begin with. 3 copies of Max C, 2 copies of Ghost Ogre and Snow Rabbit. Really good for a lot of matchups. Tempai, it's really good in the Tempai. It's especially good in Centurion. It's decent enough into the legs of. It's okay into U-Bell, but I don't really see any U-Bell around. It's solid into Snake Eyes. You can pop a lot of their monsters, which prevents certain areas of extension. So it's pretty good across the board, but it's especially good into some of the big popular decks right now, which is specifically Centurion and Tempai. Triple Ash Blossom because Max C exists. We've got also, by the way, all level 3s. I just want to point that out here. Ghost Ogre, Ash Blossom, Mourner, all level 3 monsters, which means if you normal summon one of those, they can help you with your combos if you have an extender. I just want to quickly throw that one out there. Mourner is good. I wish it also could be used against normal summons. That's its only limitation in my mind. But the reason we're playing Mourner over something like Veiler is... It's, first of all, it's level. Again, we're trying to keep to the theme of level 3 monsters, and it's a wind monster, which is very useful, because if you happen to draw like a Takatomborg or whatever, it being wind is somewhat relevant. But the other big difference between this and Veiler is that Mourner can be used in the battle phase. So Veiler is main phase only, which means that if your opponent's playing Tempai and they just go straight to battle phase with like Kaiman in hand, your Veiler's useless. Whereas at the very least, Mourner can be used in the battle phase, which gives it a amount of utility in that matchup. Maybe that's not enough to justify it. That is entirely up to you. You can make that decision, but I kind of liked it. It felt a little bit bad at times, to be fair, so if you wanted to cut it, I would not blame you at all if you had something else you wanted to play there. I really like Ghost Bell right now, actually. I might replace it with Bell. Bell's been impressing me in a few other decks that I've been playing, so Bell might be the way. We've got double call by and single cross out, and then our triple infinite impermanence. And I'm also going to count Goblin Beggar Grand Stampede in here. I love this card, but I activate it once in maybe every 25 games. It is probably just not worth playing. I like having the additional search targets for the Dug Charger, but since we have cut our package down to a much more sensible level, I think this is honestly perfect. Very, very minimal. You get the cards when you need them. These guys don't start combos in any way, shape, or form. They're not even really all that good from hand. So not having them in hand is usually better. They're not so bad that if you see them in hand, they're bricks. But you definitely don't want to see more than one of them, because shit gets kind of rough at that point. So since I've cut this package down so massively, I'm not too worried about additional search targets for the Dug Charger. And even then, the deck generates so much advantage, and it doesn't even really need much in the way of discard. Like, it's not a deck that requires you to discard anything, really, at any stage. The only card that does is Foxy Tune. So you're not going to be discarding cards either, so it's not like you need extra blank, like, ammo in your hand to discard. So yeah, you can do without it. It's really not that big a deal. It's entirely up to yourselves. What are the other options you could play in terms of the Goblin cards? Is potentially Grand Bash. I'm still 50-50 on Grand Bash. I did take it out, but you could definitely play this. But anyways, that's the hand traps gone. So you can see 17 spots for you to play around with, 9 of which will go to Maxi and Maxi counters. The rest... go ham, right? I really like Ogre. I really like Bell. Bell's probably a card I would play over Mourner. Mourner's really good, though, to be honest. Droll is becoming increasingly relevant, although Droll doesn't do a ton into the... It doesn't do a ton in the Centurion. It definitely hurts, but if they have the right cards, they can very easily ignore Droll entirely. It doesn't always do a ton in the Tempai if they start with a decent enough hand, and it's not very difficult for them to start with a decent enough hand. I feel like once Tempai gets a couple of hits, Drollwood's going to be really good into them. Like once maybe we hit Chundra to 2 or 1, or maybe Pydra to 2, which are some of the hits I would imagine are coming to the deck. Maybe at that stage when it becomes more reliant on its searches, Droll will be better. Right now, Droll's not that impactful into Tempai whatsoever. So because of that, I'm not the biggest fan of Droll right now, but I feel like it's going to be better as time goes on. So just be aware, just keep Droll on your radar. The Bystials are really mid right now. DD Crow's super mid. Veiler's nice, but in the Tempai, it's ridiculously mid. I guess if they just don't have Field Spell and don't have an extender, Veiler on Pydra is game, but like, man... It feels so bad when they activate Field Spell and you have Veiler. It feels terrible. Nib's a decent enough card again. Rough into the Tempai matchup if they have the Field Spell, but, you know, so is fucking everything else, so get over it. But yeah, so there's some of the options. I do think... I mean, Spooky Dogwood is unironically not a terrible option. I'm not gonna lie. This is not the worst card in the world because of Tempai. Just almost guaranteeing yourself to survive is neat. But yeah, go nuts on hand traps. There's just some of the options for you. You play whatever you want. Ideally, try to hit as many level 3s as you can, but go nuts. In terms of the main deck, let's talk about it engine at a time. So of course our triple tour guide is our best normal summon because it basically enables the whole sort of mean merciless combo. Again, I covered that combo off at the start. So tour guide's just a mandatory normal summon starter. Terror Top is a free summon, so if you control no monster, special summon this from hand, and when it's summoned, it will search the Tomborg, which can special summon itself if you control a wind monster. So just a rank 3 without using up your normal summon is phenomenal in this deck. I really think Terror Top is virtually mandatory. Wielder and Tracker, both level 3 monsters that just special summon themselves if you control another level 3. We got our Punk package, which is 1 copy of Madame Spider, 1 copy of Xiamen, 3 copies of No Punk Foxytoon, 1 copy of the Dangerous Gabu, and I guess I'll throw E-Telly in here as well, although E-Telly can also just be used for your Psychic cards. The whole idea, again, I showed off that whole combo at the beginning. You've got 6 starters in this little set. You got 3 Foxytoon, 1 Xiamen, and 2 E-Telly. Some people like playing more than 1 Xiamen. Some people actually don't like playing more than 1 Foxytoon. That's totally a valid way of playing it. I just wanted to have as many level 3s that I can special summon as possible. I didn't want to rely too heavily on normal summoning, so I'm playing the extra Foxytoons. But yeah, so again, the more copies of these guys basically means more starters, but just make sure you're counting your normal summons quite closely. Then we got 1 of each Goblin Baker, 1 Dug Charger, 1 Clattersploder, 1 Boommock, and 1 Mean Merciless. And then we've also got 1 copy of Goblin Baker Grand Entrance. These cards are all very, very self-explanatory. So Dug Charger can special summon itself from hand by detaching an Exceed material on your field. That is a spell speed 1 effect on your turn, and when it's summoned, it will grab you the Grand Entrance. Clattersploder, when summoned, will bring back a goblin monster from grave. You can special summon this by detaching a material from an Exceed monster on the field, not that you control, on the field, during your opponent's turn. You can do this one. Boommock, during either player's turn, you can special summon this from hand or graveyard by detaching a material from an Exceed monster on the field, but you can only summon this guy once every 2 turns. If you summon him, you cannot summon him until the end of the following turn. And then we've got Mean Merciless, which can be special summoned from your graveyard during your turn by detaching an Exceed material from a monster on the field. But it's banished when it next leaves the field. And when special summoned, or when summoned, you get to summon a Goblin Baker from hand. So they all special summon themselves by detaching an Exceed monster, an Exceed material from a monster in the field. They just do it from different places and at different times. So Boommock is, Dug Chargers from your hand, spell speed 1, main phase. Clattersploder is from grave during your opponent's turn. Boommock is hand or grave during either player's turn, but only once every 2 turns. And Mean Merciless is during your main phase. You can detach a material, but from graveyard. So it's kind of funky, but you'll pick it up very quickly. It's really not that complicated. And then lastly, we just have our 1 main deck full armored Exceed card. This is kind of where all the magic happens for your armored package. Really, really good card, and honestly, it's extremely versatile. It doesn't really feel nearly as bad in this deck as it does in some other decks that takes advantage of the armor package. Here, it feels a lot better. Getting into the extra deck, we hold the Utopic Draco package. I really liked this package when I started playing the deck, but the more I played it, the less I was summoning UDF. I'm honestly not even really that big a fan of these guys anymore in this deck. I recognize their value, but to go into them, you give up so much. Like, your rank 3s are so good. But there's definitely situations where this guy is phenomenal, so definitely worth playing for sure if you have him. Gossip Shadow and Cicada King, both just generic rank 3s that have negates on them. This guy detaches 2 to change an effect to say both players draw 1 card, and that can react to monsters, both monster effect anywhere, where Cicada King is a negate, but it can only react to things on field. Ashura King is a 3 material rank 3 monster that will negate a monster effect and destroy the card. Negates the activation and destroys the card. Very good. It can also attack a bunch of times in battle phase. I really like the Ashura King. There was one other rank 3 I threw the picture up on screen earlier when it was relevant, but where is it? He was pretty cool. This guy, Tri-Edge Levia. This guy's also pretty sick. He banishes anything he destroys, which would be more relevant if he didn't have 1800 attack. But his main thing is this. Once per turn, during either player's turn, detach a material, target a face-up monster in the field. It loses 800 attack, and its effects are negated. Worded a little bit weirdly, but it's basically just a targeting negate, and it reduces it by 800 attack. That's pretty solid. I really like that. I would probably try and squeeze this guy in if I thought I had space. If you did want to play, I guess you could cut Downward, or you could reduce GABONGA to 2 if you really wanted to squeeze this guy in here, because I really like him. I think he's very solid. So if you're like, if you don't have Cicada King, try this guy instead. He's a little harder to summon, but Cicada King's a UR. So if you don't have this guy, then that's like a budget option you can play instead. The Exceed Armor Torpedo, the Exceed Armor Fortress, and the Full Armor Dark Knight Lancer is our armored package. You saw this in every single replay, so I'm not going to sit and talk about them. GABONGA at 3 because he is the main man of the hour. Abso-freaking-lutely. You almost always go through 2 copies of this card. Sometimes the third definitely comes up. So I do like it at 3, for sure. Downward comes up every now and then. Not all the time, but when she comes up, she fucking comes up. Every time I look at this card and I'm tempted to cut it, it always comes up in like the next game, and it's like, yeah, that's why we play this. Because Downward just basically adds an additional material to your Zeus, and Zeus is a large part of this deck, because you can even summon it during your opponent's turn using the Full Armored Exceed. It's a funky play, it doesn't come up very often, but it can definitely work out. But Zeus is an absolutely huge win con for this deck. So Downward giving it the material it needs to get a second field wipe on a more consistent basis is definitely worth doing. And then lastly, we've got IP and SP. Standard link package for any 2 leftover monsters. And that's pretty much the deck. I am absolutely fucking loving this deck. I'm really enjoying playing it. It is probably my favorite deck right now. So let's stock her back up with some of our hand traps. Again, like I said, whatever you put in specifically doesn't matter too much. I would be very tempted to play Bell over Mourner in hindsight. So I'd maybe do 2-2 and then cut Imperm to 2 just to make it a little bit more balanced. But the specific amount of hand traps or board breakers or whatever you play is entirely up to you. You could take these out and play Talent if you wanted to instead. Like you could play like Triple Tack. You can play some board breakers if you want to, because the deck doesn't do super well going second. So I suppose that is definitely something we're thinking about. But in my head, Tempai and such is just so goddamn powerful that if I don't have enough hand traps to just stop them from playing the game, it becomes very difficult to keep up with those types of decks in playing their own game against them. It doesn't go very well. So normally hand traps to me is better in those types of games, but only time will tell, right? You can play that part however you want. In fact, let me know down below what it is you play in those tech spots in your Goblin Beggar deck. If you got this far into the video, of course, listen, I really appreciate you sticking around the whole way through. It really does help me out a lot, and I appreciate it. What would help me out even more is if you went down and you hit the like button and you subscribed. It is absolutely free. There's no reason not to do it if you're enjoying what you're watching. If you aren't enjoying what you're watching, and you're watching this part right now, what the fuck is you doing, right? I didn't force you to stay here. I don't know if someone's got a gun to your head. You could have left at any point, but here you are, right? If you got this far, you might as well subscribe, because obviously you like something. So that's on you. And what I would say as well is Twitch. Again, we're going to be shifting all of our live streaming over to Twitch. I'm just doing a little bit of an experiment. We might bring it back to YouTube. It all depends. We get a lot of viewers on YouTube, and I really appreciate everyone for showing up. But YouTube just doesn't reward streaming the same way that Twitch does. It's just like, I would love it if I could go live to, again, on our last stream we peaked at like 52 people, and we've had in the past well over 100 people watching our live streams, and I would love to see all of you guys watching our streams in a way that actually rewarded the channel. So if you want to help us out in that front, go to Twitch, follow on Twitch, or even just hop into the Discord so you can get our notifications for Twitch to watch us when we're live over there. That's everything I've got to say. Hopefully you enjoyed. Like, subscribe, and I'll catch you next time. Bye-bye.